Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into a source that makes a really bold claim about what's going on in Texas. It argues that a couple of very wealthy, very powerful people are trying to fundamentally reshape the entire state. And it all kicks off with this pretty shocking thesis.
Right? I mean, that is a heavy, heavy claim. The source we're looking at isn't pulling any punches. It's alleging there's a deliberate, well-funded plan to change the very fabric of Texas politics. So the first, most obvious question has to be, who exactly is they?
Well, according to this source, the whole thing really boils down to two central figures. And they're presented as having this, unique and incredibly powerful mix of identities. Okay, so meet Tim Dunn and Farris Wilks. On one hand, the source identifies them as West Texas oil and gas billionaires. We're talking immense wealth. But on the other hand, it points out they're also both far-right Christian pastors. And it's this combination, the massive fortune plus a very specific religious worldview, that the source claims makes them so uniquely powerful. So what kind of theology are we talking about? Well, the source argues that what Dunn and Wilks preach isn't about, say, universal love, but is really a theology of power, control, and domination. And the argument goes that this isn't just about what they believe in church, it's an ideology they're actively trying to write into Texas law.
So that's the who. But the really big question is, how? I mean, how could just two people possibly have that much sway over the second biggest state in America? Well, as it so often does, the answer seems to be, you gotta follow the money. And the source puts a number on it, over $100 million in political contributions. And the claim here is that this isn't just, casual campaign donations. This is a strategic investment designed to buy real influence and control over the state's entire political machine. And you can really see the alleged scope of that investment right here. According to the source, every single Republican state senator has taken money from Dunn and Wilks, 100%, and more than half of the Republicans in the state house. That suggests a just massive financial footprint across the party. And the source claims this influence goes straight to the top. It points to Governor Greg Abbott taking trips on Farris Wilks' private plane. And it draws a direct line from a $3 million contribution from their PAC to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, overseeing the acquittal of Attorney General Ken Paxton. Now, the source argues this money isn't just about rewarding friends, it's also about punishing anyone who steps out of line. It identifies this PAC, Defend Texas Liberty, as their main enforcement tool, allegedly used to fund primary challenges against any Republican who doesn't toe their line, pushing the whole party further and further to the right. But it gets bigger. The argument is that the money doesn't just stop with politicians. It's used to build this whole sprawling network, an entire ecosystem. We're talking think tanks to write the actual policies, advocacy groups to build public pressure, and, crucially, media outlets to shape the whole story. And to make that point, the source highlights funding for outlets like Texas Scorecard, the national site The Daily Wire, and PragerU. The conclusion it draws is that this effectively creates their own media bubble. It lets them not only influence the politicians, but also control the very information that people are debating. Okay, so to make all of this feel less abstract, the source zooms in on one key policy area. It uses public education as a case study to show how this entire network, the money, the politicians, the media, all works together toward a specific goal. And the source is blunt about what it says that goal is. It even uses a quote from a fellow Republican, State Senator Bob Deuel, to make the point. He says, they want to destroy the public school system. So the claim here is that this isn't about reform. It's about complete replacement. And then it lays out what it calls a clear three-step playbook. Step 1, use their media network to gin up controversies and make people distrust their local public schools. Step 2, use that distrust to push for private school voucher programs, which the source calls a scam to pull money out of the public system. And step 3, the alleged endgame, close public schools and replace them with a system of private Christian education. So the final piece of the argument is to show that this network, this agenda, isn't just some theory. The source claims it connects directly to some of the biggest headlines we've all seen coming out of Texas lately.
This list basically connects all the dots. The source links the network's influence to everything from Ken Paxton's acquittal and the big push for school vouchers, to no exceptions abortion bans, the fights over books in schools, and looser gun laws. The core idea is that these aren't a bunch of random, separate issues. They're all symptoms of one single coordinated push.
And the source wraps all of this up with a really direct and powerful warning. It basically frames this whole situation as a fight for the soul of the state, concluding that Texas is just too big and too important to be, in its own words, sold to the highest bidder.
So ultimately, what this source material presents is a really detailed case for how money, ideology, and a very sophisticated network can allegedly be used to push a very specific vision on an entire state. And it leaves us with this fundamental question, one that goes way beyond Texas. In a democracy, who really gets to decide the future?